Thank you. So I have to give a disclaimer today. I don't know today's Gemara.
You don't know it. So what's the disclaimer?
That I don't know it. Don't. So we'll say the Gemara, but I don't. I get something general, but the general doesn't do justice to the details. But let's do it a little bit outside, then we'll go inside. And whatever I don't know, I'll just. So the Mishnah spoke about the regular way you're supposed to do it is that the shliach comes and says b'fanei nechtam. That's the way it's supposed to be done. And the Mishnah has all kinds of cases that are not good, some questionable. What's the wrong? So the case of the Mishnah was they only said b'fanei nechtam. That's not good. He said half is also not good. One signature also not good. Then it talks about that one said b'fanei nechtam and one said b'fanei nechtam. Two people came. One said b'fanei nechtam, one said b'fanei nechtam. And that seems to say that it's not good. Like a simple reading says it's not good. And then it says if two said b'fanei nechtam, and one said b'fanei nechtam is a machlokes. And if two said b'fanei nechtam, and even though only one said b'fanei nechtam, that for sure is kosher. The Mishnah seems to say, if you talk about it seems to say that 1 and 1 is for sure possible. 2 and 1. If it's saying 2 first means that panei nechtam. So 2 and 1 means that there are 2 people who said the panei nechtam, and one person said panei nechtam is a machlokes. And if 1 and 2, which means one said panei nechtam and 2 said panei nechtam, for sure it's kosher. That's what the Mishnah seems to say. Rashi, by the way, throws into the Mishnah. There's an issue to talk about in all these cases about 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 1 and 2. All these cases we could talk about all of them shluchim or not. You could say that they were both shluchim, but one said panei nechtam, one said panei nechtam, or 1 and 2, 2 and 1, but they were all shluchim. The other way to learn is that not all of them were shluchim.
Those are shluchim. That means they witnessed it and they're going to take it.
What means that they were official certified shliach, and the Rabbani gave an amount of
not that they saw it. He appointed them to see it.
He appointed them to bring the get, and therefore the Rabbani gave them a special namonis. Even though there's only one person, they're going to be believed in what they said. Even though usually you might need 2 edim. Here they said a special namonis. We believe those who are certified because they're a shliach. And the person who wasn't appointed as a shliach, he happens to be coming, but he wasn't a shliach. He wasn't the one. So then they didn't give the special namonis. But maybe the 2 edim are good. Stam eid that he says. Not that he was made a shliach. They only gave special namonis to the shliach, that the Baal appointed to be a shliach. Someone could have been there. It could have been standing over there. And then he also was going on the trip to Medina Sayyam, to Eretz Yisrael, and he came along and he says, I was there, I could certify, but he wasn't made a shliach. So that's what the Gemara is going to talk about. In these cases about 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 1 and 2, are they shluchim, all shluchim or not? A little bit of introduction. The Gemara, Rashi refers us to the Gemara of Gimel, that what could be wrong about, according to, over there we had a machlokes about Lishma, and Rab and Rav, the beginning of the parak, we went with the first parak, we had the give and take about, is the reason of the Mishnah, panei nechtam is because of Lishma, is because of verification, kiyum, that was machlokes Rab and Rav. The Gemara came out over there, the Rab also holds like Rav. Everybody holds there's a kiyum issue. The question is there also a Shema issue? In the Gemara with the Andaf Gimel, it's spoke about why do you have to have b'fanei nechta? Means Rava holds that the whole issue is only verification. The whole reason that you need this whole issue is only because of verification of the signatures. So why do you have to have b'fanei nechta for? Why do you have to say that it was written before me? If you hold it because of the Shema, so you have to testify that get was written in the Shema. Very nice. But if you hold like Rava, why do you have to talk about the b'fanei nechtam at all? They should just say b'fanei nechtam. Our whole issue was only to have verification of the signatures, and they made a special leniency to trust one person alone, the shliach. Fine. Why do you have to have the b'fanei nechtam? Why do you have to say that it was written before me? So the Gemara said that if we're going to trust one shliach that comes and says it was signed before me, and we're going to say fine, everything's good, we're going to certify the get, it's affirmed. So then people will think that the way to certify signatures, to confirm signatures, to verify signatures, is good enough with one. And usually it's not. It's special leniency only by a get. Usually you have to have 2 verifications for a signature. So therefore, That's the reason why they said this in order that it should make a hecker. This is not a regular kind of a certification. It's something special by get. Don't learn out from here to other places. Okay, that was just a chazar over Daf Gimel. I think Gemara is going to talk about these concepts, both about the Shema and about verification. Is there chashach lufe? Now, so now Rashi, back to us. Rashi says that if you say the case is talking about that everyone's shliach over here, the Mishnah is talking about everyone's a shliach. So you have two people coming, both of them are shluchim. One's there b'fanei nechtav, one's there b'fanei nechtav. What's the problem? You have good certification, everything you need. You want to know b'fanei nechtav, here you have a shliach that says so. You want to have b'fanei nechtav, here's a shliach that says so. So Rashi says in the Mishnah, at the beginning of the paragraph, the reason why it might not be good is because it's still called a chlufe. There's still a problem for a chlufe. They see that the certification on the signature is one person. They're going to learn out that you can have a certification with one verification is good enough. And usually it's not, you have to have two. How do we always take care of it? By saying, also say b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtav, say both. So then people will see that it's something strange, just not a regular verification. I'm not going to learn that to other places. Here you had b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtav, but you had two people. One person said b'fanei nechtav, one person said b'fanei nechtav. The one who says b'fanei nechtav didn't say b'fanei nechtav.
No, but it's still strange.
It's strange,
It's
but
still
it's
strange.
not.
And so what if there's two? There's like, we never need two for anything else. So this is strange.
You're right, and there's a tzad to say it like that, but there's a tzad to say the other way also. That if they see the person who's doing the verification, they have other issues also. Best needs something about the ksiv, I don't know what that is. But this is a verification. You have one person that's doing it. They'll learn out that you always can do verification of signatures with one aid. So someone might say that it's still room for mistake, and you have to have the same person should say funny enough. Okay, Rashi throws into it, tells us already information that the Gemara is not talking about. That was the Mishnah, and now it's time to Gemara. Daf Tezayin and Manal on the bottom. Well, 4 lines up. One and one, both one and one. One said funny nechta, one said funny nechta, and it says that it's possible. Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan said, "Lo shanu b'al she'ein naget yotzi mitachas yidei shneim." The case that is possible is only because not both of them are shluchim. Aval get yotzi mitachas yidei shneim kosher. If both of them are shluchim, one said b'fanei nechta, one said b'fanei nechta, it is kosher. Rashi said in the Mishnah, the reason what the chorah might be because you have everything you need. You have a b'fanei nechta, you have a b'fanei, everyone is certified, everyone's fine. So everyone's certified means he's authorized, everyone's authorized. He's a shliach, and he's believed on b'fanei nechta like two edim. He's believed on b'fanei nechta like two edim. It's good. The Gemara says a little different. The Gemara says different than Rashi seemed to explain.
This means that only one of them was a shliach?
No, both of them. Again,
the first one, Ein.
Yeah, the Mishnah is talking about that not both of them are shluchim. Not both of them are shluchim. Only one.
It's
not coming out of his hand. It's only come out of one of them hand. The other one happened to be an aid, but he's not a shliach. The Mishnah is talking about that not both of them are shluchim. Only one of them is a shliach. And the reason why it's puzzle is pashut because on the one who's not a shliach, you don't have you only have one eid echad. Eid echad is usually not believed. So that's how he learns the Mishnah. The Mishnah says 1 and 1 is not good. When I say that's the terminology for today, 1 and 1, they're always the thing. The first one is the ksiva, the funny nechtav. Second one is the funny nechtav. 1 and 1 means 2 and 1 means the funny nechtav was 2, and funny nechtav was 1. 1 and 2 means the funny nechtav was 1, and funny nechtav was 2. So the Mishnah that says 1 and 1 is not good is because both of them are not both of them are shluchim. So the one who's not a shliach, whichever one it is, whoever's not a shliach, his testimony was not good. It's only an eid echad. Only the shliach is considered like this. But if it would be that both of them are shluchim, and one said funny nechtav, one said funny nechtav, then it's kosher. You might learn the reason it's kosher is because we trust him, everything is good. But the Gemara says a little different, and that's going to be today's point. That's a good thing to highlight, that this mandama says that two people that brought a get, they don't have to say anything. Not that that's much different than I said. Not that it's because you have both of them said, you have a b'fanei nechta, you have a b'fanei nechta, what else do you want? No, the Gemara says the reason why it's good is because if two people come, you don't have to say b'fanei, we don't even ask for anything. We don't ask anything. The fact that they said it doesn't make it worse. They don't have to say anything. That's going to be today's sugya. That's really going to be the opening statement and the closing statement. That should be in about 45 minutes to an hour. That's going to be the closing statement also. But that is going to say, we're going to pass on like this, that Shnam should be getting Medina Sayyam, and they don't need anything. If two people come, we tell them you can be quiet if you want, because we have two people.
Does the Alma mean that it's we're assuming this is because they came from Medina Sayyam.
The whole thing was talking about Medina Siyam. When you have to say b'fanei,
Oh, the whole thing is.
the whole issue of Panatha was only that's the first mission over there, or you go to Extra to Medina Siyam. If you come in a place where we don't have verification, so you have to have b'fanei nechtam. And if you have two people coming, you don't need anything. And this thing more like throws out. And well, I could have set up shot differently. I could have said the reason why it's good is because you have b'fanei nechtam. You have b'fanei nechtam. You have a certified shliach saying b'fanei nechtam. And even though it's not the same person, but both of them are shlichim. But the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara says, you see from this, that you don't need b'fanei nechtam. And that's going to be the maskon, that's going to be the halacha. Really, we could close up shop already.
What are we doing in 45 minutes?
I'm gonna get-
Which point is the raya?
What?
Which point is the raya?
The fact that he didn't learn the Mishnah, he learned the Mishnah Davka that they're not shluchim. If they were shluchim, the din wouldn't be true. Why wouldn't it be true? So I would have said, because you have certification on both. One said funny. The Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara says if it would have been kosher, even though the two different people, it must be because you don't even need to find nechtam. And that's all there is to remember Lamaisa from today. If you got that, it's so good. That's going to be the halacha. It's going to be a short halacha. There are two people that come that are shluchim. You don't have to say funny nechtam. If you don't be quiet, you don't have to.
It's not that we're getting because of the shluchim or because they were in the gather of like 2 ages.
I don't know what to say, but the case is the case is that they're shluchim over here.
They're both independent shluchim.
They're shluchim, and they're shluchim, two shluchim. So now, what's better than that? Why is this so? Why should this be so? So I'm not sure. I have Rashi right here, and I have a Gemara at the bottom of the page. So just to jump around a little bit, Rashi says, you know why? That's the highlight Rashi. The time mishum she'ein edim l'kaimo. Because the whole reason why you have to have the b'fanei nechtam is in order to certify. But you have two people over here that could certify if need be. How do you know that? How do you know that they know the signatures if they don't say b'fanei nechtam? I don't know. How do you know that they know the signatures? How do you know how long they're going to be around over here? Rashi says because
the issue is showing about the honor. You have two.
So Rashi says the Gemara says at the end of the page. The Gemara says a little bit different, and then Rashi's words at least. The Gemara says, just to point out, here, a few lines from the other page. This is our same page. The same page. That's the bottom of the page. This question we just talked about. Two people are bringing a get. Do they have to say? Why? The reason is because if they would say that he divorced her, to aid them would say they divorced her. They believe
that they say one statement, right?
I don't know anything. I saw the husband give the get. They're believed to say that we know that she's divorced. Since they're believed to say she's divorced, so therefore you don't need b'fanei nechtam. What's that? What kind of reason is that? So some of us will say, article that we're not choshish that the husband's going to come and be ma'arer because can make contest because the Edom are coming and they said that he gave us the get. So if they could say that he divorced her and he's not going to be believed to contest the get, so we don't have to have any chash that husband's going to come. Back to the top of the fact that Rabbi Yochanan, who's this Rabbi Yochanan? This was not true by Yehuda, named Rabbi Yochanan, that the Mishnah is talking about that they're not both shluchim, but if we both shluchim, it would be kosher. And the Gemara says the reason is because then you don't even need the b'fanei nechtam. Okay, so we're going to learn the Mishnah talking about that they're not both shluchim. Amalei Abaya, Elamiyata, Sefer Tiktani, Shnayim Omim b'fanei nechtam, Bechad Omim b'fanei nechtam, Pasal b'Bila Machshe. The next case in the Mishnah, 2 and 1. The first case was 1 and 1. 1 and 1 is possible because the one who's not a shliach, his testimony is not good. He's not a shliach. He's only a yedechad. So that's the reason why it's not good. Whichever one it was, the b'fanei nechtam, one of them was not good. How about the case of 2 and 1? That two people said b'fanei nechtam, but one of them said b'fanei nechtam, machlokis. Tanakama says, "Post, I believe this is kosher." What are you going to say? Talking about that they're not both shluchim. That's what he's saying, right? You're going to say that if both of them are shluchim, then it is kosher. They said, yeah, of course. I said even 1 and 1 is kosher. So for sure, if they're 2 and 1 is kosher. He's saying that if they're all shluchim, so then the Rabbanan say you don't even need the b'fanei nechtam. So you're going to say that the Rabbanan say in the case of 2 and 1 that is possible is only if it's not. Yeah, for sure. You even said 1 and 1 is kosher. Amalayin. This like goes without saying, of course. So what are we talking about? That ain't get that the case that they say machlokes if it's possible or not is when both of them are not shluchim and Abu is still mashim. The chiyeng get yotzi mitachas yidesh name by my plea. What's the machlokes? The more could ask it's much simpler. In the second case, where 2 and 1, 2 Edom say before 2 people they're saying now they're not shluchim. Someone's not shluchim. So 2 of them said b'faneinu nechta. The hard they're the ones that are not shluchim, and the one who says b'faneinu nechtam is a shliach. So here Abu says that it's kosher. Why should he say that's kosher? Why should I want to say that's kosher? You have 2 Edom on the ksiva. You have 1 shliach on the chasima. Why should there be a machlokes? What are they arguing about? Before you have everything you need, you have 2 Edom on the ksiva. 2 Edom, and you have 1 shliach who also has believed usually. The answer is Ma'asava Gazmina del Masi Lachlufi became Shtoas Dalma, Be'erechad, or Ma'asava Lo Gazmina, Lo Gazmina. So this we had the concept mentioned before in Daf Gimel, that the one says Fanai Nechtam. You have 1 person saying Fanai Nechtam. So it's true that Chazal trusted in Eid Echad over here, but you might say that other people will think that it applies to all kinds of Kiyum Shtoros, that 1 is good enough, and really you have to have 2 always. So they wanted to make some kind of a heker. The heker is to also say B'fanei Nechtav. And even though you have 2 Eidim that are saying B'fanei Nechtav, but when they see the Chasima, they don't see 1 person testifying. And you might think that that's always good. So they say, so Rabbanan say it's not good. Abuda does make a gzera. Abuda says you have a shliach that's saying B'fanei Nechtav. It's okay. All this was the first lashon.
Because he's certified.
Because he's a shliach, right? He's a shliach, so therefore he's believed. And even though we might be concerned about other times, we have 2 Eidim. We have 2 Eidim. And they also say there's B'fanei Nechtav. There's 2 Eidim. He's not the shliach, but he's 2 Eidim. So we have also a difference. We're not choshish for lachluka. Okay, this was the first lashon. Now goes the second lashon. Lishnach mina. I said always, whenever in the past couple of years I've been saying lishnach mina means a different girsa. Here it seems not like that. This lishnach mina sounds to be like a different version, but the Gemara is bringing the other version. Not that it's a different printing, which is against my. I think this is the first one. Besides the Dorim and Nazir.
I think so.
This is the first one. And I was even trying to say this also was a Gersa, but I couldn't. Here it seems to be that it's the Gemara, and there's a different lashon now. It's not the editor. This is the Gemara bringing down another version, it seems. Here goes the second version, Lishnach Mina, Amila. This is the Lishnach Mina now. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Rabbi Yochanan, same people. People get the Yotze B'Deches Yidei Shneim Pasul, the opposite. That the mission that says 1 and 1 is possible is not only when they're not shluchim, even if they're both shluchim. They're both shluchim. One of them said Fanei Nechta. One of them said Fanei Nechta. It's also possible. Al Makasava.
Like our mission.
When?
Like our mission.
We're going. Yes, not, I mean, we're going in the mission. We're trying to explain what is mission talking about. The first lesson is also going in the mission, but I said the mission is only talking about that they're not shluchim. If they're shluchim, it'd be kosher. And he's saying the mission is even talking about that both of them are shluchim. And it's still possible. And how the Gemara just says, according to him, this is our issue we're talking about today. You get there is no special permission for 2 people not to say and therefore it's still possible. So that's going to be the machlokes between the 2 Lashonos.
Even if they do say,
the one said b'fanei nechta, you have to first of all you have to say. That's the first thing that you have to say. The first lesson said that if you have 2 people, you don't even 2 shluchim, you don't have to say at all. Here, this lesson knows you do have to say, and then this and they didn't say it well. One said b'fanei nechta, one said b'fanei nechta, and there's going to be a problem. That's a problem. What's the problem going to be? The problem is for sure going to be a chlufe. The problem is going to be that you're going to confuse other stories. But that's the machlokes between the 2 Lashonos.
it's very important, but even the Marius lesson, the Fanei Nechta.
Yeah, that's what they have to. That's true. That's what they have to say. And here that they didn't say it's always possible. So what's the problem? You can ask what's the problem. 1 and 1, both of them are shluchim. What's the problem? They're going to say because of the chluchim that they're going to think that always is good.
One. Oh yeah, you were there.
Amalei Abaye. This is all the second lesson. Amalei Abaye, Elam Vayata. You learned the mission talking about that they are shluchim, even if they both of them are shluchim. Sefer Diktani Shnai Mom B'Fanei Nechta Vechadam B'Fanei Nechta Pasal B'Vidah Machshir I feel look at Yotzi B'Tachzi Deishne and Pasli Rabbanan. You learned how much is talking about even if they're both shluchim. So if a case of 1 and 1, you said it's possible even if they're both shluchim. How about 2 and 1? 2 and 1 is the machlokas case, and you're saying over there also that it's talking about even if they're shluchim and the Rabbanan still say it's possible. 1 and 1 is possible. 2 and 1 is also possible. Yeah. 2 and 1 is also possible. You might have thought it's a little bit better. You have 2 on the ksiva, but also it's also possible, and it's not so complicated because the reason why they hold that as possible is because I say that even if you have one good shliach saying fanei nechtam, but there's still a chlufa issue because it's going to look like one person is enough to be mekayim shtaros. So we have to have he should be the one who's saying the fanei nechtam. But Michael, if what's going to be the machlokas between Abuda and the Rabbanan? Now, what would we say? It makes it this. The Gemara seems to be very, very confusing. It sounds like mysterious to Gemara. We just had before also a machlokas if you have chlufa or not. Means like Yaakov started saying, if you have the fanei nechtam, 2 people didn't say it, but it doesn't look regular. There's a fanei nechtam guy over here, it doesn't look so regular. And you can say yes, you can say not. It isn't the same person saying it. It's not such hecker. It's a little bit hecker. And the Gemara said that in the beginning. The argument if you say chlufa or not. The Gemara can say the same thing here also. That's what we're talking about. What's the machlokas if you done there one? And if they're both shluchim, what's the difference if they're both shluchim? The one that said b'fanei nechtam is a certified shliach, and really should be believed. And the problem is because I said b'chlufa or not. Abuda says here it's okay because someone said b'fanei nechtam, yes, a shliach. Not here, he is a shliach. And Rabbanan say that since it is the same person talking, so there is a problem with chlufa. So the Gemara could have said simply this, also arguing if it's a chlufa or not. The Mishnah talk about why the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara is going to say a left field issue that is no issue of a chlupa at all. So Rabbi Yehuda holds the issue back to Rabbi and Rabbi that had in the beginning of the Masechta. The Rabbi says the issue is because the reason why you have to have fanei is because of Lishma, and Rabbi said the reason was because of Eidim Usuin L'Kaimo to verify the signatures. Over there, I think the Gemara goes back and into all the lumdus of before. That Rabbi said that the fanei nechtam alone shows that the problem is because of Lishma, because if it will be because of Kiyum only, so I wouldn't need fanei nechtam at all. They're saying fanei nechtam. Over there, Rabbi answered that I'm concerned because of a chlufa. And Rabbi said over there, I'm not concerned with a chlufa. Chlufa is not an issue. There's no chashash, and he says because it's very different. He has b'fanai, and he has yadati, and here a woman is believed, here a woman is not believed. Here the Baldova is believed, the Baldova is not believed. But Rabbi over there said there's no chashash chlufa at all. And the Gemara inserts him to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold the chashash chlufa. Means there's, just to zoom out a second, there are 2 ways to talk about why there's no problem of a chlufa. Either because it's so different, kiyum of a get and kiyum of shavas is so different. Rabbi says there's no chashash, they're not confusable at all. Rabbi said there is a problem and you have to make a b'fanei nechtav in order to remedy the problem. And then you can talk about that if you have one person saying b'fanei nechtav, one person saying b'fanei nechtav, did it remedy the problem or not? So before the Gemara spoke about that there is such a problem of confusion, and we have to remedy the problem. What can say if it remedies the problem or not? And here the Gemara ran away and said Rabbi Yehuda holds the reason why there's no issue of a chlufa is because he holds like Rabba, and Rabba doesn't even have any issue of a chlufa. He says it's not confusing. It's not confusing at all. The Gemara could have said the same thing as before. It chooses not to, and that's what the Mishnah will talk about. But the Gemara is saying that the machlokes is if the issue is lishma and there's no problem of a chlufa at all, or the problem is because of kiyum shtaros, and you do have to, and there's a chlufa, and here it is going to be confusing.
Lishma means that it's going to that woman.
Yes, yeah. Lishma means that it was made particularly for that woman,
particularly for that woman,
and that's what was the halacha that we said in the beginning. Maybe the people of Choslavos don't know that halacha, and therefore we have to have certification that it was written for that woman, it was signed for that woman. It wasn't that he found it in the garbage and it was written for a neighbor.
And we're not worried about it. We're only worried about
right. And that's Rabbi proved that the pshat of the Mishnah was because of lishma. Because why do you have to say b'fanei nechtav? It must be because there's a lishma issue. There's no issue. If it's only certification, she does say b'fanei nechtav. And the Rabbi tried to say, and Rabbi holds that there's a problem of confusion, and you're going to say that 1-8 is also good enough for kiyum shtaros in general. And Rabbi says there's no such chashash. So here the Gemara is saying that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi that there's no issue at all about confusion. And Marsa will fish and the Rabbanan say that the issue is because of verification, and there is a confusion between the get and other kind of documents, and therefore you have to have a distinction and show that it's different. And it's not good enough to have one person saying b'fanei nechtav and even two that are saying, one that's saying b'fanei nechtam, who's the shliach, and two that are saying b'fanei nechtam, even though it's two, because the one who's saying b'fanei nechtam looks like one person is good enough for verification. If so, the Gemara says, oh, so we stumbled on something. We're talking about the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda Tanam, and we're saying that it has to do with the Machlokes, Rabba and Rabba, about the Shema. Rabba and Rabba are Amoraim that are much later. Name of the Rabba of Rabba Tanohi. You mean to say that the Machlokes Rabba and Rabba is the Machlokes of the Mishnah of Yehuda and the Rabbanan? That's
We
not
had at the very beginning.
right. Rabba and Rabba in the beginning is not the Machlokes, and the second parak of Yehuda and the Rabbanan of the Tanam. Doesn't that's not good. What?
The Shema and Adim.
Right, right. Moses says no, surely not. Each one's going to have to explain the Mishnah according to his opinion. Rav is going to say that the issue was not because of the Shema, and therefore there's no problem of a chlufe. And that's
He's going to
he's going to explain.
Lishna
Kama said that there is a problem of a chlufe, and maybe it's remedy. The machlokes means the issue is that it's going to be confusing with other shtaros. If you say one is good enough, but the machlokes is this confusing or not? You have somebody saying b'fanei nechtav, even though that's not the same person. So that's the first lashon, and everyone holds like me that the issue is verification. The machlokes is it confusing over here? Rabbi Amalacha the kul yama b'inin l'shma. Rabbi's going to say, yeah, I'm here, I'm shaky. The issue is not the shema. The question is, do you have an issue of a chlufi or not? Rabbi said the shitasa. Rabbi learned that there was no problem of a chlufi, and they were saying someone else is a problem of a chlufi. So this Gemara, I'm just reading the words. I don't get the pshat. No, but
isn't it like what we just said? Marsabar, Lafisha in Baki Lishma, that'd be Rabba.
Right, but Baki Lishma, right, but Baki Lishma is not inherently the subject over here. It just means that he who said Baki Lishma, it's like a whole, really, it's a whole dominoes, what he means to say. If he says Baki Lishma, we ask him why.
That's why you need someone to say Niktav.
So you have somebody saying that. You have somebody saying that.
Yeah.
Is there an issue that the one who's saying b'fanei nechtam, he also holds a verification? The Gemara said before, Rabba also holds a Rabba. That was right away in the beginning. Rabba gave in. I hold a Rabba also, but I say also a problem of Lishma. And the Gemara, so he also holds a verification. All these things he also holds up. And is there?
That's not so important. Important that the bottom line is there Xera?
Yeah, right. So is there Xera? So the machlokes is going to be if there's Xera or not. So just because Rabba said the issue was Lishma, the whole dominoes falls that Rabbi says Lishma. Why do you say Lishma? Because on Daf Gimel I said it says b'fanei nechtav. Why do you say b'fanei nechtav for? Why isn't b'fanei nechtav not enough? It must be because you have concern of Lishma. Rabbi says no. It's because Shema said lachlufe. Rabbi says it doesn't have lachlufe. They can argue if there's lachlufe or not. But the Gemara says Rabbi can't say. Rabbi has to say. So what is the Gemara saying? Is there chlufe or not lachlufe? It doesn't. The Gemara doesn't read it. The way I'm saying it, the Gemara doesn't read. He says everybody holds like me, but here's la'achas shalom do. What does that have to do with anything? La'achas shalom means they learned the din of lishma. That's going. We're not talking the same language. We're talking about is there a problem of a chlufi or not?
But he's still bringing up to get to the Xera.
Is there Xera or not? What does that have to do with la'achas shalom do? Is the Xera of a chlufi or not? I want to know if there's a chlufi or not. You have good. What do you have over here? You have two people saying, two Eidim that are saying b'fanei nechtav, and one person saying b'fanei nechtav, who's a shliach. So what's the problem, Rabbi? The Shema, here you have one person, the certified shliach is saying b'fanei nechtav, two Eidim are saying b'fanei nechtav. You know that it was the Shema. So what's the problem? He has to say there's a problem. You're going into chlup. By the way, no, I'm saying that lo lamdu. There's a problem of the Shema. I talk about when there's a real problem of the Shema. You have one shliach saying b'fanei nechtav, l'shema, and you have two Eidim saying that it was nechtav l'shema. Is there any problem? You have everything you need. You can talk about Asad Lufe, but it's not. But Rabbi can't talk say it says I hold the Shema and Lamdu. There's nothing to do. We're not talking about Lishma and Lamdu now. We're talking about if there's going to be a Lufe of Kiyam Shtoros. The whole subject we talked about before. Rabbi doesn't. What's Rabbi doing? Rabbi saying I hold the Shema. Therefore what? And Daf Gimel he said I don't hold there's a Lufe problem at all. But that's not going to change if it was Lachash and Lamdu or not. We're asking according to Rabbi, what's the problem? According to Rabbi, why does everyone say it's possible? What's the answer? The kasha, when we attack Rabbi, we say, you Rabbi personally, you happen to hold that there's no problem of a chuppah at all. You deny that there's any confusion. You don't have to remedy the confusion. There is no confusion because this is the Fanai, this is Yadati, this is Isha, this is no Isha, this is Baldava. Yeah, a whole list of things why there's not. And that's why we attack Rabbi, that there's no problem of a chuppah. So here you have one person who's saying a shliach that's saying b'fanei nechtam, fine. two Eidim that are saying b'fanei nechtav, fine. Why is it a problem? The only thing you can talk about is a chlufin. And what does it have to do with Acha Shalom do? I don't know how to read the Gemara.
What is Nachar Shalom mean?
After they learned about Lishma, means that the Gemara says in the beginning that even though Rabbah says that originally there was a problem of in Beki and Lishma, plus Loris, they didn't know about the Lishma. There came a time when they learned about it.
Oh,
And therefore there's no chash anymore of the it's not Lishma. But the Gemara is not reading well. So what's the machlokes then? The arguing for Choshish that they're going to forget again about Lishma. The Masava Gazmina or Masava Lo Gazmina, which doesn't seem to make sense to me because here you have a verification on everything. You have one shliach on the chesima, you have two eidim on the ksiva. Like, what does that have to do with the subject? What does that have to do with if there's Lishma Gezerah? There is a Gezerah. Or they didn't learn Lishma. You have good verification on everything. The Gemara, these 5 lines, I don't know what to make out of it. But lift of them Rabbi Yehuda Bereisha, if now this Gemara Rashi told us it before, but I don't read it into. I don't know where the Gemara is going on. The case of the Rabbi Yehuda's arguing was 2 and 1, 2 on the ksiva, 1 on the chesima, and he says that it's kosher. Why? Because he doesn't have a problem of chlufe. I'll say my own shot. He doesn't have a problem of a chlufe because there is somebody talking about the ksiva. You have 2 Eidim on the ksiva, one shliach on the chesima, everything's good. So then he should argue in the first case also. The case of 1 and 1, both of them are shluchim. Also, you should say that Rabbi Yehuda should say that it's kosher. The answer is yes, you're right. He does argue in the ratio also. That he does argue in the first case also. Even the Mishnah doesn't sound like that. The Mishnah sounds like in the first case 1 and 1, Rabbi Yehuda holds that as puzzle. Now we're saying
because the puzzle is in the middle.
Right. So even though it says puzzle in the middle, Rabbi Yehuda is going to say, we're going to say this Rabbi is going to say he's arguing in the first case also. And the reason why it's kosher is because both of them are shluchim. We're saying now that we both of them are shluchim, and therefore you have good on the ksiva, you have good on the chesima, and Rabbi Yehuda is not choshish of a chlufe because the Maisi, if somebody testifying about the ksiva, so it doesn't look like a regular verification, they're not going to make a mistake that a verification is good with one. Masir Rabbi Shai, how could he say that Rabbi Yehuda argues in the first case also? It's a very shabraisa. Rabbi Yehuda machshir bazu below bacheres. It's such a brisa that says he's only machshir this case, not the other case. What does it mean the other case? Well, what means the case before? The Mishnah has 1 and 1 puzzle, 2 and 1 machlokis. 1 and 2 kosher. So it says Rabbi Yehuda is only machshir in this case. What does it mean? That the case before he holds that as puzzle. When it's 2 and 1 kosher. But if it be 1 and 1, it'll be puzzle. How can you tell me that he holds even the case of 1 and 1 is also kosher? My love, isn't it for me to say the case before? If you have 1 and 1, that he holds that as puzzle, and you also holds that as puzzle, and you are saying that he argues over there also, he holds that as kosher. It's against the brisa. No, the brisa doesn't mean that. It means that if he didn't say b'fanei nechtav at all, over there Rabbi Yehuda is masking that is puzzle. If one said b'fanei nechtav, one said b'fanei nechtav, the both shluchim, then it's kosher, because there's no chluch in such a case. Well, when did I read this masking that is possible if there was no b'fanei nechtav at all? You might think you don't need b'fanei nechtav. Why should that be? You might think that just like he doesn't make xeris over here, he doesn't make xer at all, and you're not choshish for a chlufe, and just like b'fanei nechtav, the whole issue is about signatures and you have verification, and we don't care about by regular shtaros, maybe the people will think that one verification is good enough. Kamash Malam, that he is choshish for. And if you have no b'fanei nechtav, he also holds that as possible. He's only saying if you have 1 and 1, then it's kosher. 2 and 1 surely kosher, but 1 and 1 is also kosher. If you have nobody, you have 0 and 1. If you have no verification on the ksiva, then everything is mashma that is possible. If that's all good, not so good. I read it without knowing what I'm saying. Rashi says that this itmanam means to say like the Lishna Basra, that even if 2 shnaim sheviu get medina sayam is still machlokas. What does that mean? That even if you have 2 shluchim, everyone's a shliach, still you have to say b'fanei nechtav. And Rashi says that in the bottom line of the page, that's what more is coming to prove over here. Itmanami Lishna Basra, that Yochanan is even talking about with 2 people, Yaseh Midesh name still is possible. Now comes a little story. Rabbi Babachana Chalash. Rabbi Babachana was sick. Oh, the Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Lishule or Rabbana Lishule Bay. So the Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbana came to visit him. That's how
all?
What?
All
Entered. like
Go
iron.
up. El
No, al means two above.
to above.
No, but ayil means Aramaic to come in. Ayil nishnas.
Oil with that thing.
That means they came in. Nichnasu. In Aramaic,
Didn't go up.
I don't think so. The word in the Aramaic means to come. Shayif, ayil, shayif, nafik. The opposite of nafik. Nafik means to go out, ayil means to come in. So they came in to visit him, l'shulei beit, to ask about him, to ask how he's doing. Bo minei. So let's say he was sick, and they asked, he was sick, and they come to ask him this question. Well, he's such a complicated sugya, and they asked him, this is what they asked him. They asked him, Shnaim shivu get in dinner sayah. Maybe he felt better. I once went into the hospital to visit a Talmud Chacham, older, I was young, but it was Talmud Chacham who was in the hospital, and old mirrors, and two of old rebellious faith came, and I forgot the other person, and they started talking and learning, and they started screaming, and they got like he got leprosy, the person who was sick, and the nurse came in, is everything okay? And that was the refuah. They came in, so maybe that's over there. But they asked me this question: if you have two people with a shluchim, do they have to say b'fanei nechta or not? Which is mamish whole sugya. That's our sugya. We had on top of the page, one lesson said that they don't have to say. The second lesson said that they do have to say. And they asked him, what do you say? What do you say? Like the first lesson. If they would say that we saw him getting divorced, that's believed. So now also they don't have to say b'fanei nechta, whatever reason, whatever, how
If
you
they said
explain it.
before she got divorced, they wouldn't.
If they would have said that we saw her get divorced,
We wouldn't believe it.
we wouldn't. We don't have Would we not believe that? Or could they believe? So therefore, they don't have to say b'fanei nechta. That needs some explanation. Why is that a reason? The first will say because he's not going to come. But not Choshi, she's going to come to contest the get if they say that the husband gave it to us. And now comes a side story. I mean, it's a continuation of the story, but it's not relevant to us at all. It's a nice side story. Adachi asahu chabara shakla l'shragam v'kamayu. While they were talking, so a chabar, Rashi says in the Parsim, the Persians, there was some group amongst the Persians that they didn't allow fires in people's houses. So they Yom Edom. And they took away the put out the fire, put out the lamp, turned off the lights. Omar, so he said, I guess Rabbi Babachana, Rachmana, he said the following words, Hashem, Rachmana, O Betulach the either in your shade or in the shade of the people of Esav. Means that the Esav, the Romans, were better than the Persians. That he said we shouldn't be under the jurisdiction we should be under your jurisdiction. And if not, then
The shade, did you say shade?
Right, shade. Sail.
Sail.
Under your shade, Hashem, or if not, then at least under the shade of the people of Esav, the Romans. But under the Persians, it's terrible. The Gemara has a problem with that. Is that so that the Romans were better than the Persians? The member the Romoi Malu mi praso. You think that are you saying to say that the Romans are better than the Persians? If Atani Rabchia right of Siv and Lakim Haven Darka Huya Des Makoma, that's a pasuk. Just highlight the pasuk. It's really talking about something else altogether. This is a drush, but it says in the pasuk that Hashem understands its way and He knows its place. That means Hashem knew where to take Am Yisrael to Galus. The Gemara says a drush on that Hashem knows where to bring Am Yisrael to Galus. Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael Shein Yechom L'Kabel Gzeres Romiyim. Amad Biglo Sam L'Bavel. Hashem knew that Am Yisrael wasn't able to tolerate the decrees of the Romans, so He took them to Bavel. That Bavel is better than the Romans. And the Bais Rishon, the Golas Bavel. So you see that Bavel
is better.
That Bavel, and that's
better
I
for
guess
Golas.
closer to the Persians. The Romans are the worst. Lo kasha. Hamakami the nation Chaboy the Bavel on the Basa the Asu Chaboy the Bavel. These Chaborim, like it says in the top line, Asu Chabora, this nation that they joined the Persians, they made it terrible. So originally the Persians were better than the Romans, but then when the Persians joined up, the Chaborim joined up with the Persians, then they became worse than everyone.
How are you getting in the words?
Which one?
This is the two Ha's.
Oh, this is before the Chaborim came to Bavel. Nesa was like
And
become.
after.
Before the Chaborim came to Bavel. This is after the Chaborim came to Bavel. So that was a side story. That wasn't the issue.
The Chaborim are
some group, some tribe that joined the Persians.
And that made them worse.
Yeah, right. They took charge before the Nazis came to Germany. After the Nazis came to Germany.
So before the Persians were there, that's what the pasuk
Before
was talking
the
about.
the possible before the Chaborim came part of
Before the
Persian, then they were better than the Romans.
Yeah,
Right? But
Okay.
after the Chaborim joined up with the Persians, then they're worse. So he says, how about we should be with the Romans, not under the Persians. Okay, so that was the so far we spoke about. So what we have, Machlokes, we're going to still continue with this issue. If two people go together, that Shluchim, the Def Nechta, we had two versions. And so far, somebody also agreed in the bottom, Rabbi Babuchani also agreed that you don't have to. And he said the reason is because if they was taken for an Gershon would be good. Now the Gemara continues also with the same subject, but goes into the Mishnah that talks about 1 and 2. Again, we had so far we had 1 and 1, 2 and 1, and now we're up to 1 and 2. This is the Mishnah that says everybody else that is kosher. Kosher. Why is it kosher? You have 2 Eidim on the Chsima and 1 on the Ksiva, and if here for sure it's kosher because you have two on the Chsima. Here's no problem. No one's going to make any mistakes over here because you have 2 on the Chsima. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Lo shanu ela shegat yotzim mitachas yidei eid Kesiva.
Yeah, only one aid is coming. It's like funny nechtav. So he's believed because Takanas Agdina.
He's the shliach. The one who is. This says there's a 1. There's a 1 and a 2. One ksiva. One is the same for nechtav. Is he a shliach? So he says that he's the shliach. Then it's kosher. You have a shliach on the ksiva. You have 2 edim on the ksiva. The nasuk k'shnayim alzeh k'shnayim alzeh. You have, it's like as if you have 2, because if you have a shliach on the ksiva, it's like there are 2. He's believed, and on the ksiva you have mamish 2, so it's kosher. But if the eid chesima are the ones who are the shluchim, and the eid ksiva and the eid ksiva only one person is saying the funny nechtam and he's not a shliach, then it's possible.
So like you just said, the aid echad is not the shliach echad is not a shliach.
Right, but the Gemara now goes into the subject we're just finished talking about. We talked about that if you have 2 shluchim, then maybe you don't need anything. Maybe they can be quiet. If you have 2, that was the whole subject we had just now. So this Gemara says that if you have 2 shluchim that said chesima and one
that said
that said ksiva, that's not a shliach. One is not a shliach, and he said ksiva. Funny enough, he doesn't have the get. He's not a shliach, so it's possible. Why is it possible? If you hold that, you don't even have to have the funny nechtam. Al makasava. This version, I'll just put it in green because that's what we did before. The green, this was the green one. Alma kasava, shnaim she'eviu get. It's green, has to be green. Okay.
I thought we just said that if the shliach was the one that said lefanai nechtam, that's good. And then nechtav,
That's the
the
first.
one guy that said
first.
nechtav is the shliach.
So that the Mishnah says that 1 and 2 is kosher. One said ksiva and 2 said chesima, and he says, you know why it's kosher? It's after because the 1 was a shliach. What if the 1 wouldn't be a shliach?
No,
Only the 2 would be a shliach. He says it wouldn't be
it
kosher.
wouldn't be good.
But that means that he holds that if you have 2 people, you still have to say funny nechtam, and you didn't. Our subject today,
I see, because the shliach is like 2.
the shliach, no.
shliach is
If
like
you have 2
2.
people, the subject today, if we go out today and somebody asks, what did you learn today? I would say,
I hope nobody-
first I say, I don't know. But the second thing I would say is, there's a machlokes, this highlight, just highlighting today alone. That's all. Shnaim sheviu get in sayam. You have to say, funny not to we can tell them to be quiet. So the first lashon over here said, you don't. And then the second lesson said you do. Now, if you do and you didn't, so the problem.
Right.
Now, this Gemara says over here. Now we're going into the end of the Mishnah that it says that if you had 3 people coming to with the get,
One was the
same, one said funny nechtab, and 2 said funny nechtab. It says that is good. But this
And we
Amor
say-
Rabami
is saying because he's a shliach.
because he's a shliach. So he has he's a shliach, he's certified. So he said funny nechtam is okay. And 2 on the chesima, even though they're not shluchim, but they're 2, then we're happy because we have funny. But if it will be that the one who said funny nechtam is not a shliach, he's not certified, so it's as if nobody said funny nechtam, so it's not good. But you have 2 people that are shluchim over here, the 2 eidei chesima, they're 2 shluchim, and somebody holds that if you have 2 shluchim, you don't need funny nechtam at all. And he says that is possible. So he doesn't hold like that. He holds like the second lesson before, that
Okay.
if two people brought Gef Nidei Sayam, they do have to say Fanei
Uh-huh.
Nechtam. The Gemara continues with this.
Even though it's a chasaron, they may be aiding on the chasima.
They don't have to be able at all. They don't have to nothing. They can all be quiet. They come to shluchim. We are shluchim from the husband to bring the get. Here it is, and they don't have to say Fanei Nechtam. So there's no issue about that. The one who said Fanei Nechtam was not part of the shlichus. You don't need Fanei Nechtam. And he said there's a problem. There must be. He holds that just because you had two people doesn't part you from saying Fanei Nechtam, and he didn't say it because the one who said Fanei Nechtam is not certified. So it's no good. Only Abbas Yelamiata, Rachel the Tony Shnaim Shalom Fanei Nechtam Bechadama Fanei Nechtam Pasul Rabbi the Machshir. I feel get Yotzi Matachs the Shnei and Pasul Rabbanan. You hold the mission talking about. You hold that two people that want to get do have to say Fanei Nechtam. What are you going to say in the case of 2 and 1? It says in the Mishnah before. We're going the third case already. Back to the second. We're going backwards now. The case of 2 and 1. We says no first on the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan say that it's not good, even if they're shluchim, even if the two who said befanenu nechtav their shluchim is still possible. Malay in, yes. That was the shot in the Mishnah. This was the Mishnah Basra we had before that said that even if it's so, and we said the reason is because it's a chlufe, that even if you have two people that are shluchim, but the one who said the fanei nechtam is only one person, so the one say that is going to be confused. They're going to think that another store is also the confirmation of one is good enough. Yes. So this was a story that happened to Rav Ami. Rav Ami is the madam in this whole Gemara. I lost the place. And this was the first lesson. So this is all Rav Ami. Where's the start of Ami? Maybe just highlight him. He's the madam over here. Amar Rabbi Ami, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. That's how the Gemara started. And he, in the first lesson, he said, now it's not going to be two Lashonas, but it's going to be a different story. And now goes Zimnin, Ashkechei, the Yosef, the same person.
Rav Ami. You're saying Ashkechei is Rav Ami?
Rav Asi found himself with Rav Ami.
Rav Ami. So Rav Ami is the man that we're talking over here. And Rav Asi questioned him, Rav Asi. And now a different time they met a couple of months later, and he found Rabbi Ami saying differently than he had said a couple of months earlier. I said a couple of months, whatever it is. The Mishnah that says 1 and 2 is kosher, 1 ate ksiva, and 2 on the same Fanei Nechtam is kosher, is even if they're the ones who are the certified shluchim, and the one who said on the ksiva is not a certified shliach, it's also kosher. Now why should that be? The one you have no Fanei Nechtam. You have no Fanei Nechtam. So he says you don't need Fanei Nechtam. Why not? Because you have 2 eidim, you have 2 shluchim. Alma kasava. Now we'll do this in yellow to be consistent with before. Alma kasava. Shnaim shevi gadin esayam. Ein tzrichen shem Fanei Nechtam. So
they don't have to mention that they're the only aidem on the chasima.
They don't have to say anything. They don't have to say anything. So even though you have no Fanei Nechtam, because it's not 2 and it's not a shliach, some a person said it. So I don't care because you don't have to say Fanei Nechtam because you have 2 people. So he told them he didn't tell me I once upon a time. No, before we finished. Amar lei Rabbi Asi. Elamayata, you're learning that 2 people don't have to say. The mission that says that when you have 2 and 1, the Rabbanan say it's possible is only if they're not shluchim. But if you have shluchim, so then 2 shluchim, so then it will be kosher. The two that said b'fanei nechtav, if they're shluchim, so then you don't care because you're saying you don't have to have b'fanei nechtav at all. So even though there's a question about chlufei, there's no problem at all because they're not, because you don't have to say b'fanei nechtav. Amalei, and she said yes, that you don't have to. This Shita holds that if you have 2 people that were shluchim, you don't need b'fanei nechtav. So even though you don't have it, you don't need it. Now he asked him, once upon a time you didn't tell us this. He said the opposite. He said, like the first, once told us that 2 people that brought a guy from the Sayam, they do have to say. And now you're telling me that they don't have to say? Amalei, Yasadi, Shalom Tamur. This is a stake, stake, that should not falter. Means this is the right shot. Even though I told you once to find differently, this is the truth. And that's how we paskin, and that's how we started the day, that's how we finished the day. In yellow, Shnaim She'eviu Gitin Hayam, Ein Tzrichin Shem Ufaneinu Nechtam Ufaneinu Nechtam, and that's how we paskin.
This is, this is a yatid.
This is the yated
This is the
nema.
yated.
This is the yated that should not
Tamut
falter.
falter.
Okay, great.
So that's how we paskin. What happened in between, I'm not sure. But at the beginning and the end is Shnayim Sheviu Gitin Hayam. They don't have to take for enough time. And the Gemara said the reason at the bottom of Amud Beis, the reason is because Ma'il Yom Ufaneinu Gershom Yilo Hemni. So okay.
Very.
Wow.
Thank you.
For sure. Are you going to the first?
Yeah.
Okay, just to say that. Thank you.
When is the first run done? 8 and
Have a good Shabbos, Ruben.
12:10 or 12?